Alright, we'll do a quick update on this truck. It's been a long week, been a busy week, been a hectic week, but we're able to get the engine and transmission in. Got the wiring harness thinned down, it's kind of laid out. We're going to mount the ECU down here. The engine mounts came in Monday afternoon, I think, and went ahead and set the engine in. We already had the transmission cross member and just started putting everything together. Got the intake on, laid the harness on, put the accessories on, the water pump, crank pulley, all that stuff. On the power steering here, what we have done is we're using the power steering pump and everything out of the fire truck, and I got the pump and lines that came off of this truck, and if you take out the pressure side fitting from the old power steering pump and put it in this one, then you can use the pressure hose and it'll hook up, like it did, and won't have any problems. So that side's returned, so it doesn't really matter, it's not under pressure. So we got that hooked up, got our fuel lines run. All we did there was just put I think it was a 340 pump in the tank with a little sock on it, and attached it to one of the tubes that went down in there, and used that tube that it's attached to as the return, and then just put a short piece of hose from the discharge of the pump to the bottom of the hat, and ran the wires and everything. It fit in there and should work fine. That red wire there is our power wire to the pump, and this intake out of the 04 truck was a deadhead, so I just switched the rails out so I'd have supply and return up here and use the stock regulator. With a 340 pump, it shouldn't have issue with maintaining pressure, because if the regulator is too small, then you won't be able to regulate the pressure down, to where you want it to be. So these engines like to be at 58 psi fuel pressure. So, we'll check it and make sure. If it's not big enough, maybe we can manipulate the orifice in the regulator to lower the fuel pressure. So it's coming along pretty good. Got the drive shaft in. These mounts are actually adjustable, so you can actually slide the engine forwards and backwards. And when I first got it in, the steering comes right across in front of the oil pan, so I tried to bring it forward as far as I can, as close as I could get it to the steering, because the drive shaft it's pretty close. So I got to see where it is with the stance and everything on the truck. So when you do the spring under and all that stuff, the mount has two different holes in it. So I think it's in the rearmost position, which, it doesn't really matter. You want the wheel centered in the wheel well. On the harness, what we did was we went through and took out everything we didn't need, which was, just some of the factory AC wiring and the rear O2s, the evap, and really there wasn't a whole lot that was removed out of the stock harness. And then everything comes down to this. So purple is your starter wire that goes in front of the engine around to the starter. So coincidentally, this truck has a purple wire. I have it laid down over there to the starter, but I'm gonna pull it from this connection at the firewall and connect it in. Your orange wire there is constant power, and then the pink wires are your keyed power. So what I've done is I've grouped them together. So this will be one fuse, this will be one fuse, and then one fuse and one fuse. So I think I'll have 4 fuses for keyed power. So that's for your coil packs, your O2 sensors, your PCM keyed power, your injectors, and stuff like that. So that's how I have them grouped. We ordered the fuse block, and it should be here today, I believe. Then you've got, you got one of these goes to your brake light pedal. That's your fuel pump feed right there. But the one that goes to your brake pedal, there it is. So what that is that tells the computer that your foot's on the brake, so it'll unlock the torque converter, because otherwise if you don't hook that up when you come to a stop, it'll keep the converter engaged and it'll push through. So you have to hook that up, and every vehicle before they did this was backwards from what it should be. So you have to do a 5-pin relay to reverse the polarity. So it's normally when you push the brake light it sends power, but this one gets power all the time and then it takes it away or something. I don't know why they did that, but anyway, it's just more wiring and whatever. Here's our tack module down here. We'll mount it somewhere. I haven't figured out where I want to mount it yet. I haven't got that far. But we got our fuel filtron converter in. Transmission lines are run to the front. One little hiccup we had is apparently the 04 truck had a mechanical fan, and this radiator is actually shorter lengthwise for the electric fans. We got them in yesterday, and the width difference is incorrect. So I don't know why. I mean, that was a V8 Chevrolet truck. I don't know why it had the shorter radiator, but so now we got to figure that out, and then put the expansion tank up here where the spare tire jack and tools were, because we won't be changing flat tires. We used the power wire battery cable from the 04, and then the 2 wires coming out now, they used to go to the alternator, and I hooked the ones to the truck. So these red wires come across and go to the power to the truck, and then there's a wire in the harness, this looped one comes up to our alternator, so that can feed and charge everything for us. And what I've done is these are the wires that go to that firewall connector. This is for ignition power, so that should be our keyed power source. And one thing you want to look for when doing a keyed power source is you want to make sure that it maintains positive 12 volts in the start position, because not every wire does that. So you can get it all wired up together and it'll sound like it's going to crank, and then it'll never crank because it's losing power as soon as you go to the start position. So that's one thing you need to double check and make sure you're using. Let's see what else we got. So we got these right here. This is found this online. This is a wiring diagram for the 84 truck. So it has this connector right there is the one I'm going off of back there across the firewall. So I'll be going through and using what I can out of here to power things. I will not be using any of the sensors off the old engine, number one, because I don't have them, but number two, I mean, I don't know if this truck has gauges or idiot lights. I haven't looked, but I don't know. I mean, in a newer one or whatever, if you're doing a swap, and you want the gauges to work inside, you want to keep the sending units and stuff off the old engine so you can put them on here. Now, that being said, the problem with these is these are all metric crazy fittings that, are different from an 84 fitting. So, which is crazy because, the 84 was like when they were integrating the metric and stuff, so you don't know if it's a 3/8 or a 10 millimeter on these things. It's very confusing. So anyway, there's that. I'll be going through there and getting what I need, getting rid of what I don't. And then this is off LT1swap.com. So there's a wealth of information. So these are all the pinouts for the C2 connector that all these labeled wires were pulled out of. So if you watch my other video where I show how to start one of these with using the fuse box in the truck, this is the connector that they all go to. So the C2 connector, as you see right here. So all you do is you go through here and basically just if you're not using it, then just remove it. So like trailer backup lamp voltage, we're not using that. Most of this stuff you're not using, but all the pink ones get keyed power. Now this one doesn't go in depth and tell you what it is. It just says ignition 1 voltage. So I used a multimeter and figured out what it went to so I could make sure both my coils were on the same circuit and all the injectors are going to be on one circuit and that sort of thing. So but this goes through. These are all of the pinouts of all of the connectors that are under that fuse box in the 99 and up trucks. So like I say, you just go through and give it what it needs and remove it if you don't need it. This is another connector, the 4-wheel drive connector, so obviously we don't have to worry about that. Now this is your pinout diagram. So this is for the green connector, which is, plugs into the ECU down there. And all these yellow ones are the ones you remove. So just go in there, take the connector apart, remove the pin, and then, take the harness apart and trace it all the way back and remove it. Or if you're lazy, just cut it and tape it up in the harness and cut the other end so you don't have to delume it, but that's your choice. So the blue one, that's your fuel pump wire. The engine speed signal, this guy uses, apparently he uses the pinouts from here to run gauges and stuff. So that's your RPM, and then that's your check engine light, and then that's your mile per hour speedometer. So that's the one you repin for your electric fans. And now that one only comes on in AC, I believe. So, and then here's the blue connector, same thing. Remove all the yellow ones, you use the blue ones, and then that's your OBD2 right there. And then the orange is always constant power, and pink's keyed power. So that's how you can go about doing the harness. It's, it can be overwhelming, but it's not that hard. You just gotta take it one wire at a time, because otherwise you'll just get overwhelmed with, oh my God, I got all these wires right here. And the main thing is to lay it over an engine, plug in everything that you can plug in, and then just start taking the harness apart and deluming it. And you want the harness to keep its shape. So what I'll do is I'll put a couple pieces of tape after I've gotten the wires out I don't need, to try to make it hold its shape, because otherwise, once it loses its shape, it's kind of, then you're screwed. So it's a lot more difficult to bring it back to get it into shape. So the Denali headers did not fit. I was kind of surprised by that. The tubes come out too far and hit the frame rail down here. So I mean, they're just, I was really surprised they didn't fit, to be honest with you. But the new header should be here today. We got our exhaust kit, so that's back here. The customer wants to run these amazing Flowmaster mufflers. So I've cut them apart, and what we'll do is we'll just come up here and open these up so it'll fit a 3-inch. And then so this exhaust kit came with 2 4-foot sections, 2 U-bends, 2 90s, 2 45s, and it's stainless. So like I mentioned on one of my videos, I would normally get one of these in the mild steel or something, and it comes with 4 of everything I just mentioned. The problem is, though, after some time, it looks like crap. I mean, the flash rust and everything, they look horrible. So I've started getting the stainless ones so it'll last and hold up a little better. There's his old radiator. Here's our drive-by-wire pedal here. This is kind of a crazy one. I don't really mess with drive-by-wire that much, but this is crazy. It comes up, and then I don't know what this thing is, and then actually this plug has like all but one wire in it, whereas the wire harness, well, I say the wire harness out of the truck, but it got burned up, so I don't know how many wires were in it. The wire harness I have up there doesn't have all the pins pinned in it, so let's see what it does have. Let's see what gauges it has together here. Let's see. Oh, so we got a battery light, temp, oil, okay, speedometer, fuel gauge. Okay, man, look at that classic radio. It's pretty nice audio box. So, yep, that's that. Oh, the shifter, I think what I'm gonna have to do is get roll up one of these peasants. So I'm gonna probably have to use the same rod kit that I bought for this thing. The low car one's over $100, but the one I found was around $40. So next time I'm at Summit, I'll grab a linkage for that. And speaking of transmissions, we have our transmission. So picked that up from him. He was out of town and messaged me and said it was done and he'd be back in town. So got this thing. Hopefully it'll hold up pretty good, and whenever I get his where I can drive it off the lift, then we'll mess with this thing again, hopefully. So that's where we're at on that. I don't know what else there is to go over on this thing. I got to put new wheel cylinders in it because that one's leaking, but I mean, I'm not going to just change one of them. The front obviously has to come down. He was thinking that it was going to come down, I guess, a lot with the engine and trans in it, but I kind of knew better, so now I've been instructed to go 1/2 of a coil at a time to try to get it down. So I might not tell him and just go straight for 1.5 or something and see kind of where that puts us, you know. Then we can just buy a new lowering spring if I go too much. So I don't know if I mentioned on one of the videos yet, but this brake line right here, somebody teed this thing in, and this piece comes out of the bottom and goes into some kind of brake controller in the truck, and then a wire came down and ran all the way to the back. So that was pretty wild. I don't know. I've never seen that before. I don't know. I guess with the brake pressure, it works off the brake pressure, I assume. I mean, obviously. But so I'll be removing that because now we won't be towing anything with this truck, but we will have the power to tow it. So these are only temporary. And good thing too, because I'm gonna have to redo everything to fit the longer radiator. But it's coming together pretty good. Hopefully the headers will get here today, and I'll be able to. I'm hoping that they'll I'm hoping that they'll slide in there. I hope I haven't screwed myself by having everything already in and together. I just figured, it's a truck. There's plenty of room to work on it and don't have to worry about it. But boy, was I wrong, as usual. So anyway, that's the update on this thing. We're still waiting on the engine for the Trailblazer. I'm supposed to go down there tomorrow to dyno the Bronco and get it sorted out. But I don't know. This week's been so hectic and everything's gone sideways. I got a lot dumped on me yesterday. I've got a project or a job that fell in my lap that I did not want to do, but I'm hoping I can finish that one up this morning and be done with that, and then maybe get freed up where I can go to the dyno tomorrow with Michael and get to see what kind of massive horsepower the Bronco puts down, and hopefully return home in it the same day under its own power. So anyway, that's it for now.